Professor Jake Morrison stood at the front of his classroom in the Galactic Academy. The room was filled with students from different worlds. They had come to learn about human history. Zix sat in the front row. His body was made of crystal that changed colors when he moved. Next to him was Tharavel. She had blue skin and tentacles instead of arms. In the back row, Grex used 4 of his 6 arms to take notes. "Good morning, class," Jake said. "Today we start a new unit about human history. We will learn about conflicts on Earth." Tharavel raised 1 tentacle. "Professor, we studied many species. Most had small fights over land or food. Were human conflicts similar?" Jake smiled, but his eyes were serious. "I'm afraid not, Tharavel. Human warfare was quite different." He tapped his tablet, and a hologram appeared. It showed a cave painting, with stick figures fighting. "This is from 30,000 years ago," Jake explained. "Even early humans fought wars." Zix's crystal body turned yellow with curiosity. "Fighting for food?" "Sometimes," Jake said. "But also for territory, resources, and power." The hologram changed to show ancient warriors with spears and shields. These are warriors from different human tribes. They fought to control land and people. Grex clicked his mandibles together. "People? They fought over controlling others?" "Yes," Jake nodded. "Slavery was common in human history. Winning warriors often enslaved the losers." The classroom grew quiet. Tharavel's tentacles turned pale blue, which meant she was upset. "But surely this was rare?" she asked. Jake shook his head. "Unfortunately, no. Let me show you more." The hologram shifted to show clay tablets with markings on them. "These are from ancient Mesopotamia, about 5,000 years ago. They record battles between city-states." He pointed to different parts of the tablet. "This one mentions 3,000 soldiers dying in a single battle." 3,000? Zix's crystal body flashed bright, purple. In his species, purple meant shock. "That's just one small conflict," Jake said. "Human armies often had tens of thousands of soldiers." The students looked at each other nervously. In their home worlds, armies had maybe a few hundred members. Jake continued his lesson. "Humans developed weapons specifically for war: swords, spears, bows, and later guns. A new hologram showed different human weapons through history. Other species make tools for hunting or building," Grex observed. "Humans made tools only for fighting other humans?" "Correct," Jake replied, "and we got very good at it." The classroom door opened. Dr. Lisa Warren, the Academy's headmaster, walked in quietly. She stood in the back, watching. Jake noticed her, but continued his lesson. "Let's look at some specific examples." The hologram changed to show ancient Roman soldiers. These are Roman legions. They conquered most of Europe, North Africa, and parts of Asia. Tharavel's tentacles wiggled nervously. "How many people did they fight?" "Millions," Jake answered. "The Roman Empire lasted for centuries. They fought countless wars." "Millions." Zix's color changed to deep red. "How is that possible?" "Humans reproduce quickly," Jake explained, "and we've always had large populations." The hologram showed a map of the Roman Empire at its peak. At its largest, the empire had about 60 million people. About 500,000 were soldiers. Students gasped. Even the largest alien armies they knew about had maybe 10,000 fighters. "Why so many?" Grex asked. "Humans believed in glory through conquest," Jake said. "Winning battles brought honor and wealth." He tapped his tablet again. The hologram showed Viking longships. "These are Vikings. They were known as fierce warriors. They raided and conquered much of Europe." "Did they also fight for honor?" Tharavel asked. "Yes, but also for resources. Vikings lived in cold northern regions. They raided warmer lands for food and wealth." The hologram zoomed in on Viking warriors, with axes and swords. They developed a culture around warfare. Young men were expected to prove themselves in battle. Zix's crystal body flickered between colors. "This seems inefficient. Why not trade peacefully?" Jake paused. "That's a good question. Humans did trade, but war was often faster for gaining resources. And more exciting," Grex suggested, clicking his mandibles. "Sadly, yes," Jake admitted. Many humans found warfare thrilling. The hologram changed to show medieval knights on horseback. These are European knights from about 1,000 years ago. Entire societies were built around preparing for war. Even their games were about fighting, he continued. Tournaments where knights competed in mock battles. Dr. Warren stepped forward, slightly, observing the students' reactions more closely. But surely this was just one culture? Tharavel asked hopefully. Jake tapped his tablet. The hologram split to show warriors from different continents. I'm afraid not. Samurai in Japan, Aztec warriors in Mexico, African tribal warriors. All developed sophisticated military traditions. The students sat in stunned silence. Each culture had its own methods, Jake continued, but all shared one thing. War was central to their societies. Zix raised a crystal appendage. Professor Morrison, I need to ask something. Yes? My people learned that humans joined the Galactic Federation peacefully. How do you go from this history to peaceful space exploration? Jake smiled sadly. That's exactly what we'll explore in this course. The evolution from warfare to cooperation. The class bell chimed, indicating the end of the period. For tomorrow, Jake announced, read Chapter 3 of your textbooks. It covers ancient warfare tactics. As students filed out, Zix approached Jake's desk. Professor, I found today's lesson disturbing. I understand, Zix. It's meant to be disturbing. Will all lessons be like this? Jake looked directly at the crystal being. I'm afraid they'll get more intense before they get better. Zix's color shifted to a deep blue, which meant contemplation in his species. Thank you for the warning, Professor. After all students left, Dr. Warren approached Jake. How do you think they're handling it? Jake gathered his materials. Better than expected, though I think Zix is having the hardest time. His species has never experienced war, Dr. Warren noted. Few in the galaxy have, Jake replied. That's why this course is necessary. You're right. They need to understand our history to truly understand humanity. Jake nodded. If they thought today was shocking, tomorrow will really challenge them. The ancient and medieval battles? Exactly. When they see the scale of human warfare, they'll truly grasp how different we are. Dr. Warren patted his shoulder. You're doing important work, Jake. After she left, Jake stood alone in his classroom. He looked at the hologram projector, still showing medieval knights. I wonder if they'll ever truly understand, he murmured to himself. Jake Morrison entered his classroom to find it half empty. Several students had requested permission to skip. I understand some classmates found yesterday's lesson overwhelming, he began. Today will be more challenging. The remaining students looked anxious. Tharavel's tentacles were already turning blue. Zix's crystal form had a dull gray tint. Grex kept all 6 arms folded. We're entering the age of gunpowder, Jake announced. When human warfare became industrialized, he activated the hologram. It showed soldiers in elaborate uniforms carrying muskets. These are Napoleonic soldiers, early 1800s. Napoleon Bonaparte conquered most of Europe. Another conqueror, Grex muttered. But different, Jake corrected. Napoleon used new tactics. He moved armies faster than anyone before. The hologram showed a map of Europe turning red as Napoleon's armies advanced. His wars involved over 6 million soldiers across Europe. Casualties exceeded 3 million. 3 million, Tharavel whispered. Yes, and this was considered a small war compared to what came later. Jake showed the Battle of Waterloo. This single battle in 1815 saw 50,000 casualties in one day. Artillery and musket fire created massive destruction. The hologram shifted to show rows of cannons firing. Humans perfected mass production of weapons. Factories produced thousands of muskets daily. Why so many? Zix asked. Attrition, Jake explained. Armies needed replacements. Soldiers died not just in battle but from disease, starvation, exposure. He showed mortality statistics. In Napoleon's Russian campaign, 450,000 soldiers died. Only 40,000 from combat. The rest died from cold, hunger, disease. This seems inefficient. Grex observed. It was. But humans accepted massive losses to achieve military goals. Jake advanced the timeline. The hologram now showed American Civil War scenes. By 1861, warfare became truly industrial. Railways moved. Troops. Telegraph-coordinated armies. Factories mass-produced weapons. The American Civil War introduced modern warfare. He continued. Trench systems, ironclad ships, early machine guns. The hologram showed the Battle of Gettysburg. This battle alone caused 50,000 casualties over 3 days. The entire war killed 620,000 soldiers. And civilians? Tharavel asked quietly. Fewer, directly, but the war devastated the economy. Millions suffered from its aftermath. Jake paused, watching his students' reactions. Are you prepared for what comes next? They nodded reluctantly. World War I, 1914 to 1918, the first global conflict. The hologram expanded to show a world map with battle lines. Over 70 million military personnel mobilized. Multiple continents involved simultaneously. 70 million? Zix's crystal form flickered rapidly. Yes, and it changed warfare completely. Jake showed trench systems. Soldiers spent months in muddy trenches. Machine guns made advancing suicidal. Battles could last weeks for tiny territorial gains. The hologram zoomed into a trench, showing the horrible conditions. Artillery bombardments could last days. The Battle of Verdun saw 300,000 dead for minimal territory change. It gets worse, Jake continued. Humans developed chemical weapons, mustard gas, chlorine gas. He showed soldiers wearing gas masks. These weapons caused blindness, lung damage, death. They violated basic human ethics, yet militaries used them anyway. Tharavel's tentacles turned completely white. Poison gas? Against their own species? Yes. Desperation justified any weapon. World War I ended with 16 million dead, Jake stated. Most thought it was the war to end all wars. But it wasn't, Greg said grimly. No. 20 years later, World War II began. 1939 to 1945. The hologram showed familiar symbols, swastikas, rising suns, Allied flags. This war involved 100 million military personnel. It was fought on 6 continents. 100 million? Zix had turned completely transparent, showing his internal crystalline structure vibrating with distress. Yes. And it introduced new levels of horror. Jake hesitated. What I'm about to show you represents humanity at its absolute worst. The hologram showed concentration camps, the Holocaust, systematic genocide. Over 6 million Jewish civilians murdered, plus millions of others deemed undesirable. The classroom went silent. Even the ambient hum of technology seemed to stop. This wasn't warfare, Jake continued. This was industrialized murder. Humans built factories designed to kill other humans. Tharavel made a sound like crying. Grex's mandibles clicked rapidly, in his species equivalent of distress. Zix had gone completely opaque. Professor, Grex finally spoke, how is such evil possible? Ideology, Jake answered. Humans convinced themselves that other humans weren't really human. Once you dehumanize your enemy, any atrocity becomes justifiable. But this wasn't just one culture, Zix noted. Your hologram shows multiple nations committing atrocities. Correct. Japanese treatment of Chinese civilians, Soviet mass deportations, American internment camps. Different scales, but the pattern repeated. Jake showed statistics on the screen. World War II killed approximately 75 million people. That's about 3% of the world's population at the time. 3%? Tharavel had collapsed into a quivering mass of tentacles. Yes. Battlefield deaths, genocide, bombing of civilian cities, starvation, disease. War consumed everything. The hologram showed burning cities. Humans developed aerial bombing. Cities became targets. The firebombing of Dresden killed 25,000 civilians in one night. And then, Jake said solemnly, humans split the atom. The hologram showed mushroom clouds, nuclear weapons, atomic bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, August 1945. These single weapons killed over 200,000 people. Entire cities vanished in seconds. The classroom was completely silent now. Several students had their species equivalent of covering their eyes. Professor Morrison, Zick spoke in a voice like breaking glass. Why are you showing us this? Because you need to understand our capacity for destruction to understand our capacity for peace, Jake replied. Nuclear weapons ended World War II, he continued. But they created a new problem. Multiple nations developed them. The hologram showed a timeline of nuclear proliferation. By the 1960s, enough nuclear weapons existed to destroy Earth's surface multiple times over. You almost destroyed yourselves? Grex asked. We came very close. Several times. Computer errors, misunderstandings, political tensions. We survived. By luck as much as wisdom. Jake showed images of the Cold War. For 45 years, two superpowers aimed nuclear weapons at each other. The world lived in fear of instant annihilation. But you didn't use them again, Theravel noted, her tentacles slowly regaining some color. No. The horror of nuclear war forced humans to find other ways to resolve conflicts. Military competition continued, Jake explained. But direct warfare between major powers became unthinkable. He showed technological developments. Instead of fighting, nations competed in space exploration, economic development, technological innovation. Competition without destruction? Zix asked, his color improving slightly. Mostly. There were still conflicts, but limited ones. Proxy wars, economic sanctions, diplomatic pressure. The door opened. Dr. Lisa Warren entered, carrying a tray of drinks. I thought you might need these, she said gently. She distributed non-alcoholic beverages appropriate for each species. Thank you, Dr. Warren, Jake said. We're at a difficult point in the curriculum. I know, that's why I'm here. She addressed the students directly. What you're learning is disturbing, but it's necessary. Why necessary? Theravel asked. Because understanding human potential for destruction helps you understand our commitment to peace, Dr. Warren explained. Your species joined the Galactic Federation voluntarily, she continued. After experiencing the horrors of total war, humanity chose cooperation over conflict. But the capacity for war still exists, Grex observed. True, Jake admitted. That's why space exploration attracts so many humans. It channels our competitive nature constructively. The same drives that created warriors now create explorers, scientists, diplomats, Dr. Warren added. Zix's color slowly shifted to a lighter blue. You transformed destructive impulses into creative ones? We're trying, Jake replied. It's an ongoing process. Understanding our violent past helps us choose a peaceful future. The class bell rang. Tomorrow, Jake announced, we'll discuss modern and speculative warfare. Then we'll examine how humans moved beyond constant conflict. As students filed out, they moved slowly, processing what they'd learned. Dr. Warren stayed behind. How are they handling it? Better than expected, Jake replied, though I'm worried about Theravel. Her species has never experienced anything like this. The ocean dwellers had one minor conflict in their entire history, Dr. Warren noted. Exactly. For them, our history is incomprehensible. Yet they're still here, still learning. Jake nodded. That gives me hope. If they can understand our past, maybe other species can too. And maybe understanding leads to better futures for everyone. After Dr. Warren left, Jake stood alone looking at the hologram frozen on a mushroom cloud. Tomorrow will be even harder, he murmured. But they're beginning to see why we chose peace. The next morning, Jake Morrison stood before his class again. The alien students looked nervous. Word had spread about yesterday's shocking lesson. Today we continue our journey through human warfare, Jake announced. We'll look at larger conflicts. He activated the hologram projector. It showed a massive army marching across snowy mountains. This is Hannibal crossing the Alps in 218 BC. He led an army of 90,000 soldiers and 37 war elephants. Tharavel's tentacles turned bright orange, a sign of disbelief. War elephants? Yes, Jake confirmed. Humans trained elephants for battle. They wore armor and carried soldiers. The hologram zoomed in on an armored elephant with a tower on its back. Each tower held 4 to 6 archers. The elephants charged enemy lines, crushing anything in their path. Grex's 6 arms clattered against his desk. This seems excessive. It was meant to be, Jake replied. Psychological warfare was important. Fear won battles before they began. Zix's crystal body turned a deep purple. How many died in these battles? Jake tapped his tablet. Numbers appeared in the air. The Battle of Cannae, 216 BC. Over 50,000 Roman soldiers died in a single day. 50,000? Tharavel whispered. In one day? Yes, and Hannibal's army lost only 8,000. The classroom fell silent. Even advanced alien civilizations had never seen such numbers. How is this mathematically possible? Zix asked. Jake changed the hologram to show a battlefield diagram. Hannibal used something called encirclement. He surrounded the Roman army and attacked from all sides. He traced the movement with his pointer. The Romans couldn't retreat. They were trapped and slaughtered. Grex's mandibles clicked rapidly. Did Romans learn from this defeat? Oh yes, Jake smiled grimly. They studied tactics obsessively. Romans turned warfare into a science. The hologram shifted to show Roman legions in perfect formation. Roman soldiers trained for hours daily. They perfected group fighting. Each soldier protected his neighbor. Like a hive, Grex observed. Exactly. But unlike your hive mind, these were individual humans choosing to fight as one. Jake showed different Roman formations. Testudo for defense, wedge for attacking, circle for last stands. Tharavel raised a tentacle. Professor, did women participate in these wars? Rarely as soldiers, Jake answered. Though some famous exceptions exist. But women often suffered during wars. He hesitated, then continued. Conquering armies often enslaved or killed civilian populations. Even non-combatants? Zix asked, his color shifting to dark blue. I'm afraid so. Total war meant destroying entire societies. Jake moved the timeline forward. The hologram now showed Viking longships. Vikings raided across Europe from 793 to 1066 AD. They struck fast and disappeared before defenders could respond. Like pirates? Grex suggested. Yes, but more organized. Vikings had sophisticated ships and navigation skills. The hologram showed a Viking raid on a monastery. This is the attack on Lindisfarne, the first recorded Viking raid. They burned buildings and killed monks. Monks? Tharavel's tentacles paled. Religious figures? Vikings didn't distinguish between warriors and civilians. Monasteries had treasure, so they raided them. Jake showed a map with red lines across Europe. Over 250 years, Vikings established trade routes through warfare. They founded cities, conquered kingdoms. Did anyone stop them? Zix asked. Eventually, yes. But only after they'd changed European politics forever. The hologram shifted to show mounted knights. This leads us to the medieval period. Warfare became formalized into complex systems. Jake pointed to a knight in full armor. Knights were professional warriors. They trained from childhood for battle. Like warrior castes in some civilizations? Grex observed. Similar but more extreme. Knighthood dominated society. Land was given in exchange for military service. The hologram showed a castle siege. Medieval warfare introduced new challenges. Castles required siege warfare. Siege? Tharavel asked. Surrounding and starving out defenders. Some sieges lasted years. Jake showed siege engines. Catapults, trebuchets, battering rams. Humans invented machines specifically for breaking other humans' defenses. This technology could build things, Zix noted. Why destroy? Good question. The same engineering that built cathedrals built siege engines. Human creativity served both creation and destruction. The hologram displayed the Mongol Empire. But the largest conquest came from the east. Genghis Khan united Mongol tribes and created the largest empire in history. How large? Grex asked. Jake showed a map. At its peak, the Mongol Empire stretched from Korea to Eastern Europe, over 24 million square kilometers. Students gasped. Most of their home planets weren't that large. Mongols perfected horse warfare. Each warrior had multiple horses. They could ride over 100 kilometers daily. They moved faster than information, Jake continued. Cities surrendered before they knew the army was coming. Did Mongols also practice total war? Tharavel asked. Unfortunately, yes, they offered cities a choice. Surrender or die. Those who resisted were often completely destroyed. Jake showed images of abandoned cities. Historians estimate the Mongol conquests killed 30 to 40 million people. 40 million? Zix's color flickered between purple and red. That's more than many entire civilizations. It was about 11% of the world's population at the time, Jake added. The classroom grew very quiet. Professor, Grex said slowly, your species seems to excel at killing other humans. We also excelled at survival, Jake replied. Those who lost, wars often disappeared. Those who won continued to innovate. He changed the hologram to show medieval weapons evolution. Crossbows, longbows, early firearms. Each innovation made killing more efficient. The English longbow could pierce armor at 200 meters, he explained. Crossbows required less training, but shot slower. And then came gunpowder weapons, Jake continued. Chinese invention, but Europeans perfected it for warfare. The hologram showed early cannons and muskets. Gunpowder changed everything. Suddenly, castle walls couldn't protect cities. Armor became obsolete. Tharavel's tentacles drooped. More efficient killing? Yes. A peasant with a musket could kill a knight who'd trained his whole life. This sounds like it would end warfare, Zix observed. If anyone could kill anyone, why fight? Jake smiled sadly. You'd think so. But humans just adapted. Armies grew larger. Tactics changed. Wars became bigger. He showed a timeline of weapon development. Humans spent more resources on military technology than any other field, until recently. Even more than medicine, Grex asked. Often, yes, though military research sometimes led to medical advances. Jake paused, looking at his students' shocked faces. I know this is difficult to understand. Your species developed differently. Professor, Zix said, my people have existed for 50,000 years. We fought only 3 wars, each lasting less than a year. Grex's ancestors, Grex added, had conflicts, but nothing on this scale. Tharavel nodded. Our worst war lasted 6 months and killed 2,000 individuals. We still mourn it. Jake nodded sympathetically. Human history includes thousands of wars. Some lasted decades. We memorialized battles, not mourned them. Why? Tharavel asked. Why celebrate destruction? Victory meant survival, Jake explained. In human mentality, winning wars secured future generations. But it also meant losing generations to war, Grex pointed out. True. Human warfare created a paradox. We fought to preserve our societies while destroying them. The class bell rang, but no one moved. Tomorrow, Jake announced, we'll discuss the industrial age of warfare, when machines multiplied human destructive capacity. After students left, Zix lingered at Jake's desk. Professor, I've been thinking, your species survived because of this warfare mentality? Partially, yes. Natural selection favored aggressive, innovative humans. But now you're peaceful. How did you change? Jake gathered his materials. That's the important question, Zix. We didn't change our nature. We channeled it differently. Into space exploration? Among other things, we still compete aggressively. We just compete in different arenas now. Zix's color shifted to thoughtful blue. So, the same drives that created warriors now create explorers? Exactly. Human ambition, the desire to conquer and explore, It's the same impulse. We just aimed it at the stars instead of each other. After Zix left, Jake stood alone in his classroom. He looked at the hologram of medieval warriors still frozen in the air. At least someone's beginning to understand, he murmured to himself. Jake Morrison arrived early to find his classroom rearranged. Students sat in a circle instead of rows. Dr. Lisa Warren stood at the projector. Today's lesson requires discussion, she explained as students entered. Professor Morrison will present. I'll facilitate. Noticeably more students attended than yesterday. Word had spread that today's topic connected to their current reality. Good morning, Jake began. Today we explore modern warfare and theoretical space combat. After World War II, he continued, warfare evolved rapidly. Technology accelerated innovation. The hologram showed maps of Korea and Vietnam. Limited wars replaced total wars. Superpowers fought through smaller nations. Korea, Vietnam, Afghanistan. Conflicts designed to avoid nuclear exchange. Proxy wars? Grex asked. Exactly. Major powers supplied weapons and advisors but avoided direct combat. Jake showed casualty figures. These limited wars still killed millions, but they prevented global nuclear war. A grim calculation, Tharavel observed. Yes. Humans chose lesser evils to avoid greater ones. The hologram shifted to show computer screens and satellites. The 1980s introduced cyber warfare. Nations attacked each other's information systems. Zix's crystal brightened with interest. Like our quantum defense networks? Similar principle, different implementation. Humans developed viruses that could shut down power grids, banking systems, military networks. Warfare without physical weapons, Dr. Warren noted. Right. A single hacker could paralyze a nation. The USSR collapsed partially due to economic pressure, information control, and cyber vulnerabilities. Jake showed the fall of the Berlin Wall. By 1991, the Cold War ended, but warfare continued evolving. The hologram displayed aerial drones, unmanned warfare, remote-controlled aircraft that could strike targets precisely. Like our exploration probes? Tharavel asked. Yes, but weaponized. Pilots controlled them from thousands of kilometers away. This removed human risk, Jake explained. Operators went home to dinner after bombing targets. Psychological distance, Dr. Warren added. Killing became easier when you couldn't see the consequences. The hologram showed various drone models. By the 2020s, autonomous weapons emerged. Machines that selected and engaged targets without human control. Like the war machines in ancient stories, Grex mused. More like evolution of our earlier mechanization, Jake corrected. These AI systems made life or death decisions independently. Zix's color shifted to concerned yellow. Machines killing without oversight? Exactly the debate humans had. Some nations banned them, others developed them secretly. Did this lead to conflict? Tharavel asked. Minor skirmishes. But fear of escalation kept most conflicts limited. Jake paused. Now we enter theoretical territory. Warfare concepts humanity developed, but never implemented. The hologram showed orbital platforms, space-based, weapons, satellites carrying kinetic bombardment systems. Kinetic? Grex clicked. Tungsten rods dropped from orbit, no explosives needed. Kinetic energy alone created massive destruction. Relatively clean compared to nuclear weapons, Jake continued. No radiation, just devastating impact. The students looked uncomfortable. Biological. Weapons became more sophisticated, Jake continued. Designer pathogens targeting specific genetic markers. Weapons that killed only certain ethnic groups? Tharavel's tentacles paled. Theoretically, yes. Though international agreements banned such research. Did all nations follow these agreements? Dr. Warren asked pointedly. We'll never know for certain, Jake admitted. The hologram showed molecular diagrams. Nanotechnology introduced new possibilities, self-replicating machines that could disassemble matter. Like the gray goo scenarios in fiction, Zix noted, based on real scientific possibilities. Microscopic weapons that could consume organic material. Including people? Grex asked. Including everything organic. Entire ecosystems could be dismantled from the molecular level. The classroom grew very quiet. Professor, Tharavel spoke slowly. Your species seriously considered such weapons? Humans consider everything. Our curiosity doesn't distinguish between creation and destruction. But these weapons were never used? Dr. Warren prompted. Never deployed. But research continued. The knowledge exists. Jake changed the hologram to show theoretical space battles. When humans expanded to space, military planning followed. Concepts for space-based conflicts, like our defensive systems, Zix asked. More aggressive. Weaponized asteroids, antimatter warheads, planet-killing devices. Planet-killing? Grex's mandibles clattered rapidly. Theoretical superweapons. Devices that could shatter worlds or sterilize all life on a planet. Why would anyone want such weapons? Tharavel asked. Deterrence, Jake explained. The fear of total destruction preventing any attack. Like your nuclear doctrine, Dr. Warren added. Exactly. Mutually assured destruction extended to galactic scales. The hologram showed simulated space battles with massive destructions. Humans wargamed scenarios with civilizations possessing such capabilities. Every strategic possibility was explored. Even genocide? Zix asked, his color darkening. Unfortunately, yes. Human strategists planned for every contingency, including extinction-level conflicts. Jake paused, measuring his words carefully. But here's the crucial point. Having the capacity for ultimate destruction focused minds on preventing it. How so? Dr. Warren encouraged. When the stakes became literally everything, compromise became more attractive than conflict. The hologram showed peaceful space stations and diplomatic meetings. Humanity's most destructive period coincided with our early space expansion. But, as we met other species, our perspective shifted. First contact changed everything, Jake continued. Suddenly, Earth's conflicts seemed trivial. You realized you weren't alone, Tharavel noted. More than that. We realized survival required cooperation, not just competition. Dr. Warren stepped forward. Professor Morrison has been showing you humanity's worst impulses. But development of ultimate weapons led to choosing ultimate peace. The Galactic Federation offered an alternative, Jake continued. Instead of competing for Earth's limited resources, humans could explore infinite space. Channel your warrior energy into exploration, Grex observed. Precisely. The same drives that created soldiers now. The classroom was packed. Every student had returned, plus several faculty members sitting in the back. Word had spread about today's final lesson. Jake Morrison stood at his usual position, but something felt different. The atmosphere was expectant, rather than fearful. Welcome to our final session, he began. Today we explore humanity's transformation from warrior species to galactic citizen. Dr. Lisa Warren joined him at the front. But first, let's address the elephant in the room. She gestured to the crowded classroom. Who wants to share their thoughts about this week? Zix raised a crystalline appendage. I've been discussing this with other students. We've realized something. Please share, Dr. Warren encouraged. Human history frightened us because we recognized ourselves in it. A murmur ran through the room. Explain, please, Jake requested. We all have violent histories, Zix continued. My people, the Krell Empire, conquered 3 systems before achieving peace. The Hive Confederation, Grex added, absorbed 16 smaller species through what we called integration. We never called it conquest, but the oceanic civilizations fought brutal territorial wars, Tharavel admitted. We just don't discuss them. Other students nodded. Several began sharing their own species' suppressed violent pasts. Dr. Warren smiled knowingly. This is exactly why this course exists. Why? Tharavel asked. Because understanding humanity's journey requires acknowledging your own, Jake explained. Every successful civilization passed through similar phases. He activated the hologram, showing multiple species timelines, the common pattern, competition, conflict, technology development, and finally, cooperation. But humans seem more intense, Grex observed. True, Jake admitted. We compressed millions of years of evolution into thousands of years of recorded history. Our technological acceleration meant our destructive capability grew exponentially, Dr. Warren added. The hologram showed Earth's technological growth curve. We went from bronze weapons to nuclear bombs in 5,000 years. Most species took 50,000 years for similar development. That explains the extremity, Zix noted. Yes, rapid technological growth without wisdom to match. Juvenile minds with adult weapons. But you survived, Tharavel pointed out. Barely, Jake acknowledged. Several times we almost destroyed ourselves. The hologram displayed near-extinction events. The Cuban Missile Crisis, Able Archer 83, the Norwegian rocket incident. Each time wisdom prevailed at the last moment. Humans chose survival over ideology. How did you make that transition? Grex asked. Exhaustion, Jake said simply. After World War II, humans were tired of war. And terrified, Dr. Warren added. Nuclear weapons made war suicidal. The hologram showed the formation of the United Nations. We created institutions designed to prevent war. Imperfect institutions, but attempts at cooperation. The space race helped, Jake continued. Competition, channeled constructively. Images of Apollo missions, orbital stations, Mars colonies filled the air. Instead of conquering each other, we competed to conquer space. And then first contact, Dr. Warren noted. The hologram showed the Arrival Day monument. When the Federation reached Earth in 2147, everything changed. Suddenly our tribal conflicts seemed absurd, Jake explained. Like children fighting over toys while adults offered to teach algebra. We had a choice, Dr. Warren said. Join the galactic community, or remain isolated. You chose cooperation, Zix observed. Not unanimously, Jake admitted. Some humans argued for maintaining independence, military strength, isolation. What changed their minds? Tharavel asked. Knowledge, Dr. Warren replied. Learning about other civilizations, their histories, their solutions to survival challenges. The hologram showed various alien technologies and philosophies. We discovered peaceful cooperation wasn't weakness, it was advanced strategy. How so? Grex inquired. Resources are infinite in space, Jake explained. Conflict over limited resources became obsolete. And threats exist beyond any single species. Capability to handle, Dr. Warren added. Images of cosmic dangers filled the air. Gamma-ray bursts, rogue black holes, potential hostile contact. Survival required collective strength, shared knowledge, coordinated response. So peace became pragmatic, Tharavel summarized. Exactly. Human pragmatism served peace better than war. The hologram shifted to show current human contributions to the Federation. Today, humans serve as peacekeepers, mediators, investigators of dangerous phenomena. Your military expertise protects rather than threatens, Zix noted. Correct. We understand conflict, so we recognize early warning signs. We've become the Federation's early warning system. Like reformed criminals becoming excellent cops, Grex compared. Precisely, Dr. Warren smiled. Experience with violence helps prevent violence, Jake stepped forward. But here's the crucial point. We haven't eliminated our warrior nature, we've refined it. Explain, several students said simultaneously. Human competitive drive still exists. We still test our limits, push boundaries, seek dominance. But now in constructive ways, Dr. Warren continued. Competing to solve scientific problems, explore, further into space, develop better protection for all species. The hologram showed human achievements in the Federation. First species to map the dark matter currents, leading researchers in defensive shield technology, primary responders to the Andromeda crisis. You turned warrior skills into protector capabilities, Tharavel realized. Yes. And that's what today's lesson teaches you about humanity. We're not former warriors. We're evolved warriors. Still dangerous? Grex asked. Potentially, yes, Jake admitted. That potential will always exist, but directed toward protecting rather than conquering. A senior faculty member stood in the back. May I add something? Dr. Warren nodded. I've observed humanity for 30 years. Your capacity for violence concerns many species, but I've concluded it's inseparable from your capacity for sacrifice. How? So? Zix asked. Humans will risk everything to protect others. The same impulse that created warriors created heroes. Images appeared showing human sacrifices for others. Soldiers jumping on grenades. Pilots diving into black holes to save colonies. Medics staying with patients during evacuations. You're extreme in all directions, the faculty member continued. Extreme violence and extreme compassion. Extreme competition and extreme cooperation. Jake nodded thoughtfully. That's our nature. We don't do anything halfway. Which is why you're valuable to the Federation, Dr. Warren concluded. When crisis demands extreme response, humans deliver. The hologram showed the Federation's emergency response teams. Humans comprised a significant portion, but also why some species fear us, Tharavel noted. Yes, Jake acknowledged. Fear based on history and potential. We can't change that. We can only prove ourselves through actions. Which, you've done, the faculty member added. Repeatedly. A student in the back raised their appendage. Professor Morrison, did you experience war? No, I'm third-generation spaceborne. My grandfather fought in the last Earth conflict. Do you miss it? Jake paused thoughtfully. Miss war? No, but I miss the clarity it provided. In war, humans knew exactly what we were fighting for. Now we fight for existence, Dr. Warren added. For survival of all species, for knowledge and exploration. More abstract, but ultimately more meaningful, Jake agreed. The class bell rang. No one moved. Dr. Warren stepped forward. Before you leave, we want to address the obvious question. Are humans dangerous? Grex asked. Yes, both instructors replied simultaneously. But so are you, Jake continued. Every species that survived to reach space developed warrior capabilities. The difference is awareness, Dr. Warren added. Humans understand our potential for destruction. That knowledge guides our choices. We choose cooperation because we know the alternative, Jake concluded. Students began gathering their materials slowly. Final thought, Dr. Warren announced. This course wasn't designed to frighten you. It was designed to help you understand your ally. By understanding human capacity for war, you better understand our commitment to peace, Jake added. And perhaps understand your own species better, Dr. Warren finished. As students filed out, many approached the instructors. Tharavel extended a tentacle to Jake. Professor Morrison, I apologize for my initial horror. No apology needed. Horror was the appropriate response. But now I understand. Your horror at your own history drove your transformation. Exactly. Zix approached with his usual direct manner. When will you teach about human art forms? Jake blinked. That's quite a topic change. Not really. Your warfare and art both show the same intensity. I want to understand both aspects of humanity. Next semester, Dr. Warren promised. If Professor Morrison agrees to teach it, I'd be honored, Jake replied. Grex lingered last. Professors, a question. Of course. Do humans take satisfaction from your violent capability? Jake exchanged glances with Dr. Warren. Honestly, sometimes yes. There's satisfaction in being strong enough to protect what you love, but not in using that strength to harm, Dr. Warren added. The warrior's paradox, Grex noted. Strength bringing responsibility. Exactly. With great power comes great restraint. After all students left, Jake and Dr. Warren remained in the empty classroom. How do you think it went? Jake asked. Better than I hoped. They moved from fear to understanding. Some students will never be completely comfortable with humans,